Deputy Penrose, who has 4 minutes to make a statement.
I'll ask Concorda, and I wish to thank the Concorda for selecting this important topic. It's a topic which impacts right across the whole of Ireland, and particularly in rural areas. And indeed, in recent, there just before Christmas, I noticed the Minister for Social Protection, Joan Burton, TD, announced that the 50 million contract per annum, the renewal of this cash provision service and facility with An Post was being renewed, and I saw with Mr. Christopher Muller, the chairperson from An Post, the GPO. And that obviously secures business basis for An Post and sub-post offices across the country going forward, and it'll last for 2 years. And that's welcome initially, and it can be renewed. But obviously, we need to ensure that the sustainability of the post offices is recognised in that context. I also want to point out, Minister, that there's a specific commitment in the programme of government to take steps to ensure the sustainability of the post office network, which provides a national strategic asset. But commitments are easy to verbalise and to write. They can morph indeed into aspirations quite easily. So in order to put flesh on the bones, so to speak, of a commitment of that nature, we need a comprehensive and detailed plan of action to be produced at governmental level, which sets out how these commitments can be delivered upon. This requires a whole-of-government approach, with each department that is in contact, either direct or indirect, making an input and a submission. And the government then formulates a cohesive plan of action, and that it reports within 6 months or so. It can't be long-fingered. It must be report, there must be action, and followed by delivery. Each department should be mandated to identify new business opportunities that they are pursuing, or indeed existing business that they are already involved in, and that could be easily made available through the post office network. I've been calling for a long number of years as a rural deputy for the provision of a new banking service for people across the country. We're all aware of the many bank branches and indeed sub-branches being closed all over the country. We had it in Westmeath and Longford, and I'm sure across the country. And this is having a severe and hugely negative impact and effect in rural areas. So the government should pursue such a new banking service through the post office network, operated by An Post itself. Indeed, in this context, An Post itself needs to wake up and smell the coffee. They need to be creative and forward-thinking and be up for the challenge. Rather than always just announcing post office closures or some other aspect of the same, they should seek to install electronic fund transfer facilities at their various 1,150 outlets. They operate the savings accounts here on behalf of the country, the Department of Finance, which is a very attractive option to encourage people to save. But they need to expand into the provision of current account facilities, either on their own behalf or on behalf of a number of banks. And some of them have providing that facilities. But there's huge opportunities in relation to government, departments, semi-states and indeed local authorities. And all of those areas should be explored with an open mind. There's a huge volume of business available through online market and sales, and An Post could play a key role in development capacity, capture this niche market opportunity, and be key deliverers, I'll say. So the government should, in conjunction with An Post, invest significant capital in these developments. These will be important both in the context of economic and significantly social policy. We cannot divorce the two. Social policy is extremely important in this, and it's very hard to quantify in a balance sheet. And this is the problem about straight-line economics and quantification and cost-benefit analysis. It's not able to capture and encompass the very important aspect of social policy. Indeed, it discounts same, and that's the big failing. The post office network has about 1,150 post offices available to carry out this work. It provides service up to 1.7 million people each week. Imagine that level of contact, including 800,000 social welfare customers. And it's also an important focal point for public interaction. Last March, the Joint Committee on Transport and Communications prepared a very detailed and comprehensive all-party report called Promoting a Sustainable Future for the Post Office Network. And it represents a very good starting point for the production of a government-led plan in this area. They made a number of key recommendations which I support and wish to reiterate here on the floor of the Dáil this evening. People have a very genuine affection for the post office and the service they provide, and indeed very often it's one of the main points of contact for people who live in isolation and rural isolation in particular.
Thank you, Deputy.
There's a central role in the lives of people both across urban and rural areas, and that is why this is such an important issue, Minister, that I'm urging upon you, and thank you for coming in to take it, to go back to government and ensure that action takes place on foot and there is a plan provided so as to tackle this problem head on once and for all.
I now call Minister of State Frederick O'Dowd.
I'd like to thank Deputy Penrose for bringing this matter before the House, and on behalf of the Minister for Communications, I'd like to reassure the Deputy that it is government policy that An Post remains a strong, viable company in a position to provide a high-quality nationwide postal service and maintain a nationwide customer-focused network of post office in the community. Operational matters and the role of developing commercial strategies for the Post Office network are of course a matter for the management and board of An Post, and not one in which the Minister has a statutory function. However, the Minister has a strong concern in relation to the ongoing commercial position of the company, and he regularly liaises with the company in this regard. In relation to a plan for the future sustainability of the Post Office network, the Minister welcomed the report last year of the Joint Committee on Transport and Communications on promoting a sustainable future for the Post Office network, which he found both positive and ambitious. He agrees with the thrust of that report, which looked at the configuration of the Post Office network, the importance of government contracts and suggestions for extra business for post offices. The pivotal role that post offices play in local communities in both financial and social terms was also clearly acknowledged. The desirability of channeling more government business through the network is an issue which is often raised. However, it has to be stated that any such developments would of course need to be done in compliance with EU procurement obligations, and this aspect was acknowledged by the committee in their report. An Post has many strengths and has the largest retail presence in the country. The Minister has impressed on the company the need to further exploit its unique position in this regard, and has been supportive of its attempts to diversify its income streams and to win a wider range of commercial contracts offering higher margins. In the context of the public sector transformation agenda, the Minister will continue to engage with his colleague, the Minister for Public Expenditure, in relation to consideration as appropriate of the Post Office network for transactional elements of the business of government departments and agencies, and has stressed to his government colleagues that a network is ideally configured for over-the-counter transactions. Again, any such developments would, of course, need to be subject to public procurement requirements as appropriate. Having invested in the computerisation of all post offices, the network is well positioned to become the front office provider of choice for government and the financial services sector. Overall, the Minister sees a strong future for the network by using its existing strengths to remain a significant player in the delivery of a wide range of services on a nationwide basis.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Penrose has 2 minutes to make a supplementary
The Irish Postmasters Union made a comprehensive report prepared by Grant Thornton there some time ago, and it outlined in detail the possibility of expanding the range of services provided through a post office network in Ireland, and indeed set out a very compelling case in relation to the new services contracts as identified. And it has the capacity of facilitating additional services. It could be added on to existing services, as I said. And, you know, the recommendation from the Joint Committee on Transport Communications recommended the potential for the Post Office network to assume responsibility for the processing of motor tax renewals and hospital charges, as well as water charges, property tax, business rates, rents and other government payment services. And indeed, the use of the potential for the Post Office network to deliver a basic payment account as part of the financial inclusion strategy. So there's a lot of things that can be done. And I think, you know, there's some innate opposition, you know, at the permanent government levels very often, because no matter which minister we speak to, they're all wholeheartedly committed to ensuring the viability of the Post Office network. So where is the problem? And I think that. So we have an opportunity now to make greater use of the Post Office network, and we should set about seizing these opportunities. An Post itself, you know, has to be proactive, and I see there the Minister indicates that there has been diversification processes with AIB and One Direct and Aviva. But, you know, and all of those things, and indeed the property tax. But An Post has to be proactive itself, and the challenge it faces in terms of the significant fall off in terms of letter and parcel posting and the threat it faces from electronic communication, emails and texts, etc. This is where a great level of activity has to be. But I think, Minister, it's time that all of the relevant departments, that the social aspect of this must be recognised and made embedded as a central core objective, and that all of the departments must be brought together to prepare a comprehensive plan in conjunction with a board of An Post. At the end of the day, An Post has its own independent board, and I appreciate that, and there are public procurement issues. But at the end of the day, all of those things can be fleshed out in a proper government plan, and I believe the government should set about doing that and report within the next 6 months. I think that would be a vital step forward to sending out a signal to the post people, to the post offices, and indeed to the workers in Post, the postmen and women who deliver here, and the sub-post offices throughout rural Ireland. They feel threatened, and indeed they feel threatened by the letters coming out from social welfare, which indicates that payment for job seekers and pre-retirement allowances, and instead of receiving your weekly payment at the post office, this can be lodged directly to your bank or building society account, and you return it from. This is silly. Why doesn't social welfare say that, well, give them the opportunity they can either lodge it in a bank or lodge it in the post office?
Thank you, Deputy.
That alternative should be made available. And I'm calling upon the Minister of Social Protection to ensure that that option is available rather than being mandated for people to go to the banks directly. That's how things die. If they wither and die by this type of bureaucratic letter going out, compelling many people who don't even understand the ramification of it to pursue, to chase into the bank instead of giving the post office an opportunity to continue to survive.
Thank you, Deputy. The Minister of State now has 2 minutes for a concluding statement.
I'd like to thank the Deputy for his views, and I want to assure you that I'll bring them before the Ministers as you suggested. I think the business development of the Post for 2012, government revenue earned by An Post amounted to over 179 million, mail income 50 million, election referenda 4 million, Department of Social Protection 59 million, NTMA 54 million, TV dog licences 12 million and others 0.8 million. And as you referred in your comments yourself, there has been significant arrangements between An Post and AIB with his agreement with Aviva, the opportunity to pay the local property tax, and that it has been selected following a competitive tender process by the Department of Social Protection as provider of over-the-counter cash services for social welfare customers. But I think the points you made are very, very valuable, and you particularly point out the social importance and the community importance of retaining the post office network and how strong a bond it is in a community, particularly where you might have older people who don't meet that often, and it really is a social centre. So An Post has many strengths, and the fact that it has the largest retail presence in the country is very, very important, and the Minister will continue to impress on the company need to further exploit its unique position in this regard.